All right, I told you we'd have a second episode of the podcast here with Taylor Cavanaugh.
We're here.
First one was in Dallas, Texas, in a hotel we were just talking about.
Yeah, it was.
We made it happen.
Yes, we
And
do.
now we're in my backyard in sunny San Diego.
Man, that's cool how that transpires like that, how it
Yeah.
develops.
We make shit happen. We were talking about it. We just went and lifted earlier, and we were talking about putting your money where your mouth is and making things happen. And at that time, to rewind back for everybody that didn't see the first episode, that's when you were still in the French Foreign Legion at that time, transitioning out, flew back to France after the episode. What happened for you at that point?
Yeah, so I went back to France, and there was still a slight legal battle, an administrative battle, I should say, with the French Foreign Legion, because we were in a stalemate with my social media and them wanting me to pull it down and me saying no, really, because I knew it was preparation for my next step. I needed momentum getting out. And also, and we had kind of mentioned it before, but man, we know in our communities and guys that know, man, there's a lot of guys that take their lives, man. And I was getting a lot of emails saying, hey man, what you're putting out really helped me, and so I felt good about that. And I knew my content was coming from the heart. And so when you're doing something with heart, man, and I wasn't taking it down, and I was going to keep doing it. And so even during this stalemate, I was still uploading.
Yeah.
So that was not making them any more happy.
Not making the command happy.
And there was nowhere to go back to. So I was in a private home. They were fighting with me, and I was in this process of really seeing if it was even possible to finish my contract without having been put incarcerated, which they had threatened me to do. So I was waiting, and essentially the exact flow was I went back, and within a few weeks I was done and realized that the writing was on the wall. There was irreconcilable differences.
Yeah.
And I had to make, we talk about those decisive pivot points. Man, there was a moment, and everybody was telling me I was wrong, right? And very few people can understand your vision, understand your level of resolve, and understand what you're trying to do. Right? It's not, and you said it earlier, Austin, it's a waste of breath trying to explain this to people. And so I knew what my vision was: to coach, to come back to the United States, to live a life and not just go down the mercenary track and this and that. And I wanted to build a beautiful life for myself.
Yeah.
And the Legion was not going to facilitate that. And being a mercenary in Africa or Ukraine was not going to do that either.
I've heard you mention thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process before you kind of came back and got a taste of what you had missed out on or not been attached to?
Yeah.
In Ukraine, you talked about that? You looked into it? How far did that go?
Well, it went far enough to where, I had a lot of boys there and guys that are Belarusians and fighting in the different units, Legion units there, and as well as contracting units. And I realized in that process that what I really wanted to do was coach and start building my life at about 40, right? And I was scared, right? I was running from myself. I was running towards what I knew, and what also, man, made me feel tough. Man, look what I'm doing. Then I realized nobody fucking cares, right? Nobody gives a shit. If you're like, that's the truth. No, everybody's worried about their own lives for the most part, and nobody cares what I'm doing. And really, I'm just trying to prove something to myself that I had already proved.
Yeah.
It's the only Navy SEAL Legionnaire in the world. Where else am I going to try to fix my identity?
Right.
And that was the moment I really started to, I made that decisive action. I'm doing this. I'm going to commit to it and not look back. And that's when I realized I had to make that decisive action of leaving France, buy a one-way ticket back to the United States, and not going back to France. And I was a little fearful, right? Am I making the right decision? You're delusional if you're 100% confident in anything, really. Let's be quite honest.
True.
There's even 1%, a little bit of maybe this isn't the right call. And I was having
second guessing.
Everybody telling me, and Legionnaires and out and family, hey, you gotta, but they didn't understand the full story. Also, I did. I understand the threat of incarceration. I understood the food discipline. I understand all those things that they didn't read in on. Yeah. So I go, man, I have all the information. I'm the only one that can make the correct call here. And guess what? When a minute I got down, a minute I started doing it, I got a beautiful girlfriend, home, a life developing here. Man, I know. Look, man,
Look what happens.
The proof's in the pudding.
Right.
Right,
Which
the
only
proof-
you could see that. Everybody
Yeah.
else is thinking, from your history and what has gone on in the past, probably judging it,
Yeah.
thinking, man, he could be making a mistake. He needs to follow through with this. He needs to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Making all these calls for you, and ultimately you had to trust yourself. Do you feel that was a little bit hard trusting yourself after some of the things that you'd done, or do you feel like, you know what, I'm still going to do me
I wouldn't have been able to trust my decision making, but I was clear
this time?
this time.
Yeah. Different Taylor.
It was a totally different. It was the same decisiveness, but directed in the right area now.
That makes
right.
sense.
It was.
Yeah.
I knew, and I was clear for a while, and I had built this system, and I had really built my self-worth back up from just my daily processes and habits.
Yeah.
That is something I had never really done focused
Right.
before, right? And I'd been in the military. You get up early and you do stuff, but like systematically doing it on your own all the time. It was a
Different world,
It's a
man.
totally different.
Most guys fall right off that
Yeah,
all
it's
the
a
time.
totally different ball of wax, and that's really where the self-worth's built. And I was there, and I knew in my you got to trust your gut. I knew in my gut instinct that it was the right call.
You trusted yourself, You
Yeah.
trusted that you were going to make a change. And it's funny, when you and I met in Dallas, a lot of things had changed for us too. Obviously, we moved out here. We're in San Diego right now. We have this house. And I was in this very different situation, but certain things lined up, and I had to commit, to pull the trigger. I had
Yeah.
every opportunity to back out and not do what I say I was going to do, sell my home, move my family out here, make a big transition. It's funny, and it's amazing how things work out when I don't know, the energy's just right between you and I at that time, and what we were able to do and aligned in where we're at right now and helping other people with what you're doing now. But you're right. You said something a second ago about having that, you still have doubts, especially when things line up. You're like, well, is this too good to be true? You came back, you found a girl that you fell in love with, and is it too good to be true? All these things are falling in place. Some people self-sabotage.
I was just gonna say
scenarios
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever, when you have those scenarios, I think we all do. Like my self-sabotage for me would have been like backing out of selling my home, or pulling back on anything that I had already done. It's like, oh wow, this is really going to happen, and this is going to come to fruition, and the fear of the reality of stepping into this new world and letting go of an old world,
Yeah.
the person, the place, the things, could be extremely painful. And is that kind of what you felt coming out of somebody with such a long history of being in the military, stepping more into the civilian world and having to make it on your own?
Yeah, there was a lot of fear there because, man, in my times in the civilian world, I had these levels of success, but it never lasted, right? And so I had this fear of, man, having some measures of success, but it was like sprints. It was sprints, and it was never calculated, and it was never systematic. It was like just would happen by destiny and fate, and I would keep it moving just off sheer will and grit rather than systems.
Right.
Which was a totally different thing, and it was just hustle rather than strategic. So coming into this, that's what I was aware of, right? So I was hyper aware. I've gone through, speaking, a lot of your viewers, or some may have been through military transitions, and people struggle with that. And I think often people talk about, lack of purpose. It is that, but really it's just lack of instituting discipline, because your purpose will come when you're the right person. So you have got to, your destiny is going to come at you when you make room for it, right? And you're the right person to receive it. Man, your destiny, that beautiful life, it's not coming to you until you're ready to have it.
Yep.
And you got to set the universal stage for yourself. And so I was damn sure I was going to do that this time, because I had gotten out of the military the first time and walked into a residential real estate developer supervisor position and on a big project and living it, but no real vision of what I want to do, and no good habits to back it up, what my vision was. And then moving into an even more venture capital fluid environment and being successul and stacking more bad habits on top of it.
No amount of money is going to help that situation.
Make it worse.
Yeah.
It made it worse. And the habits are going to be your make or break. There's just no way around it. So this time I was hyper aware, because also I was, after the tail end of that first transition, which was 2 years to the day, almost the same time of year, by the way. I
Wow.
always, it was suicidal in my truck with a shot-off socket on my lap when I realized that my habits had got me there. I was the lowest I had ever been. Felt terrible. Just, that feeling, I don't wish it on my worst enemy, but I wish everybody could understand it in some way, because it will keep you away from that in every capacity. So I knew that pain, and I was damn sure I was never going to experience that again. So I was cautious, man. Fear can be a good thing, right? Fear can be a good thing.
Embrace it.
Fear's, you don't want to be fearful in terms of making positive choices.
No, but acknowledge it's there.
Yeah.
And understand if it's something that actually needs to be feared of.
Absolutely.
You need to fear it.
And that fear of, being hopeless. I don't like the word hope, but absolutely hopeless, seeing no way out, was something I was never going to set myself up. So I was going to set the stage, stack the deck in my favor. And I knew the only way I could do that, the only way I can really ensure that, is by doing the things I can ensure. That's all I have control over. Right. So I have control over my day. I have control over my state of mind, my mindset, right? Even that's hard. It's not always easy to keep positive and about stuff, and we all have.
And no level of money, of no level of fitness, of no level of look, or no level of materialistic things, or even family lifestyle does that not stay there somewhat?
Exactly, and it takes deliberate training.
It does.
So deliberate training daily. I'm hardcore, man. Yeah. I have hardcore thoughts, and my mind goes hardcore places.
That happens to most of us.
I go like scorched earth, and I'm very decisive and deliberate, and that can be a bad thing, right? A lot of guys watching this can understand, man. I'm like, barricade the building.
Yeah.
Like I can.
Yeah. It's all going down. This is horrible.
Yeah, I'm burning it all down with me in it. Like I can go on small stuff. My logical side realizes that that's some type of character flaw problem.
Can you tell me specifically? Like let's maybe some people are going through this right now, and not only people that are vets that got out of the military or in the military, but people in general. What were some of the habits that you had before that you don't have now, or that you do now? Like, what's the difference if we were to take this? I did this, and now I do this.
I drank daily.
Same.
I took Adderall every day. That was, I would say, if people are taking Adderall and they're having some problem, get rid of that shit. That shit is
psychologically.
It is dangerous for guys who are hardcore, because
it's synthetic methamphetamine.
It throws you off of balance. Yeah. I'm not saying it might have its, but I'm saying if you're doing that stuff every day, you cannot be in a good, clear frame of mind. Sure, it helps you get shit done, but at what cost?
Right. The crash is hard.
At what cost? Your sanity, right? At what cost? Being manic, right? Being extreme in your thought processes. So it was that. It was Xanax. It was really daily vices. And I'm not necessarily the guy, be a monk for the rest of your life, right? And maybe that's the right answer. But for me, I know the daily things are really what gets people clipped up, right?
Yep.
It's
the
not
hypnotic rhythm.
The hypnotic rhythm of being caught in comfort, right? I was comfortable. I was getting complacent. And here's another thing that less habit-driven and more just a practice, is taking responsibility for my mood. Right, taking responsibility for my vibration, my thought process, where my mind was at. Is I never took deliberate ownership of, man, I'm in a bad mood. I'm gonna just maybe be an asshole to somebody, right? Yeah. Or maybe lash out at my girlfriend, or just be not pleasant. Even just, I just never took that ownership. I just kind of let my emotions run my mouth.
Yeah, do it. Just how I feel today.
Yeah, and so that's when I realized, I did a video on communication the other day. It dropped today on YouTube, and as I've gotten older, I realized, man, communication's important, but there's a lot of things that don't need to be communicated. That's been something I've learned that is.
Is it from recent experiences being in a relationship?
Yeah. And so I realized, as I've been better at communicating, there was like this thing, I got really good at articulating myself in my mind, and then I realized it's causing me more problems. That maybe there's just some stuff you white knuckle and swallow, man.
Hey, I've been there. I want to add on to this one. This is good. This is really good. This reminds me of scenarios. So earlier we were talking about like my experiences in business and struggles and successes. Mm-hmm. And there's been many times that I'll have things in my head. Maybe I'll have these self-doubts. Maybe we'll be going through something financially. And I've made the mistake many times in the past. And guys, listen up. Wives, guys, whatever, listen up. I've made the mistake of verbalizing those fears when I'm laying in bed before I go to sleep. I'm verbalizing those fears especially because I work with my wife. Like we work together. We're together most of the time. And so I could be in a fearful state of mind, not positive. We're not getting any more houses. We're not going to get anything. These people aren't going to pay the bills. The whole world's falling in. All these negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And I could just line it up. This person hasn't paid the bill yet, or we need to get more deals, or we need to do more. Like the deck's stacked against me. All these fearful thoughts,
Yeah.
and I'll verbalize those. And what do you think that does to my wife? What do you think that does to her energy and to her belief in me and her
Yeah.
belief in what's going on? I mean,
Yeah,
she's
that's
looking
powerful.
to me. And I've seen it. There was a time I told you that we were going through a little bit of a hard time financially, that we were growing and we had a lot of things stacked against us. And it was decisions we had made in business that got us there. And so it was only up to us and up to me to fight our way out. And I learned a lot about myself during that time period. But when we would sit before we'd go to bed, or I'd be thinking, I'd be like, if you start sitting on, oh, well, you know what, if you just got to file bankruptcy, or this person's going to be that, all these negative thoughts instead of the solutions, then ultimately you're going to get what you're looking for. But me communicating that to her, what does that tell her? She believes what I say. She's oh, that's happening. That's fact.
Yeah.
And I could just be being an emotional asshole at night and being like, fuck, we don't have enough money for that. We got to move this. We got to do this. What about selling this? My thoughts are doing this. What if we sold this? Just thinking out loud. But she's taking it as fact. I'm taking it as in my head, but verbalizing it out loud. And there's been many times that I'll watch her go into panic mode the next day. She'll literally be budgeting our fucking groceries. We aren't going out this weekend. We can't do this. Going out to like grab dinner together, right? Or we're not, the kids can wear their shoes for another 4 years. She'll go into this hole, this mindset, this for where she's from.
Scarcity mindset.
Scarcity mindset. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The next day I'm like, why are you acting that way? What are you talking about? She's like, well, what you said last night. You can't be fucking spending this. Let me see what we're doing on that. Let me talk about these numbers. And I'm like, oh, no, I feel fucking great today. I had a call with the fucking banker, and actually that deal's going to close. And anyways, you guys want to go out to dinner and go shop or something?
Yeah.
And she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so, but it was me emotionally getting in that mindset and that fear and just sitting in bed in the darkness or before bed fucking verbalizing it.
Yeah.
Just put her in a spin. And so, I mean, communicating or even verbalizing things maybe in a negative manner or any kind of things you're feeling can definitely change how your spouse perceives things.
Yeah.
And what kind of energy you're giving them.
Yeah, and you.
Oh, yeah.
So
true.
that was powerful, man. I'm glad you brought that up, because your loved one isn't like an emotional garbage disposal, right? We just use them as like this.
Nailed it.
And just kind of spewing out. And like you said, it might just be our thought process out loud. But there's some stuff, especially as men, that we just got to kind of hold on to.
Yep.
And I'm learning that more and more, in that there is strategic nature in everything. We're deliberate in everything we do. Is what you're going to say going to help the situation? Is it going to solve a problem?
That's a good question. Just a simple question.
Yeah.
Is it going to help?
Is it going to, and oh man, Tony Robbins said this, and I love this, man. He goes, do you want to be right, or do you want to be in love?
That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one.
Man, how powerful is that, man?
Huge.
Do you want to be right? It can be right, or, just a problem, or whatever.
Arguing over something.
Or whatever it is, or do you want to be in love? Do you want to have peace? Right?
Right.
Man, so well said. And some stuff I know I've had to learn is just for me to process. It's the way I interpret information. I might be, just because I'm mad or frustrated or pissed off about something from the past, doesn't really mean I have a warranted right to really feel that.
Shit.
They say you can't argue with a feeling. Yeah, you can.
Internal.
Yeah, you can, right? Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's correct.
True.
Right? People, I say that's not correct what they teach people, man.
Well, you do get taught that as a kid.
Yeah.
How are you feeling
how you feel
every time?
They say your feelings are validated, right?
No.
That's the thing, man.
Right.
If you feel it, it must be true. No. People feel all types of ways that aren't. People are offended by stuff that they shouldn't be. There's all types of feelings that don't have a warrant. Definitely don't need to be manifested.
That goes full circle to what you talked about a second ago about the difference in you getting out now and the difference in you getting out then. And, you probably, and then veterans too, right? They feel validated that they have these emotions or they have these feelings. And they're like, and then they take this, sadly, a lot of people commit suicide. And they what they're doing is they're robbing their family of even more. It's the most selfish act you can do, instead of like, oh, I'm helping them out. They won't have to deal with me. The bills will be paid because I have life insurance or something. And they think the world's better without them. But the reality is they're just punching that ticket because it's the easiest fucking thing to do. And it's just the most selfish act in general.
Yeah. man, it's brutal. What type of, and that was the moment of clarity I had, was what type of life are you leaving behind me? What type of
what about your mom?
All this is for
How does
legacy.
your mom feel?
What type of life am I leaving for them?
Yeah.
And so these more mature, right, I'm still in this process, man, of becoming that elevated being. I'll never get there. But I wasn't thinking in those ways my first time out. Definitely not. And the drugs weren't helping at all. They were exacerbating the problems. And so when I got out this time, I knew. Also, I didn't have a system last time. Now I knew, man, I get up at this time. I do this. I look at it as emotional and psychological grooming. I have that morning process. And it's not long. It's not some 2-hour cold red dot plunge, stand on your head for 5 hours. And we got shit to do, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, and also I like stuff that's repeatable.
But you're
that's
intentional
packable,
about it.
right?
It's just intentional.
That's packable.
Yeah.
That I can do in an Airbnb, a hotel room. Simple, man. I like simple things because it's the highest form of sophistication is simplicity.
I love
so
that.
I like to keep things as simple as possible, and that's like kind of what I show people how to do, man. Because you're going to have those low days. You're going to have those high days. And, man, I want that deck stacked in my favor. And I'm going to have those moments where I'm going to lack emotional control. But guess what? That emotional control is going to be a lot better if I've gotten all these wins and I feel good about myself moving into that friction point, whatever it might be. So, yeah, that's been kind of the flow here and staying focused on the business, right, on the resolve, on my purpose. That was
the opportunity of growth.
On the opportunity of growth and getting with good guys, right? Really stepping out of my comfort zone, man. Reinvesting in the business, putting money with, man. Okay, now we're here. Guess what? Now I got to perform. Now I got to stay on it. There's no window here to miss an opportunity. I can't leave anything on the table. It's being like, man, I ruined that opportunity because I was effing off.
Right.
I just can't do it. I don't have the luxury to feel that way. I know this is kind of my last. This is my purpose. This is my goal. This is where we're at here. And I left the Foreign Legion and left the country, made a full decisive move. And there's a lot of power in that when you make that decisive move because this is plan A.
You're talking about mission.
This is plan A.
It's huge. Yeah. Earlier at the gym, you were talking about the plan A. Like, give us that scenario again, just because everybody needs to hear it again if they haven't already watched the content before. But that scenario about leaving the wire, going on a mission. Like, things change during the op, but the mission's still the same.
Mission's plan A. That's it. There's no plan B mission, right?
Right.
Might be an A, sub A, but it's all plan A, mission A. Now, if you're going outside the wire, you're going to have different routes. You're going to have different contingencies. What if you get hit on the way in? What if a vehicle goes down, But you're all still going to mission A. Plan A, mission A. There's contingencies along the way, but man, there's no other plan. Mission A is not going down. We're going to mission B. Because if you leave that path of least resistance to plan B, you will take it.
Absolutely.
You will absolutely take it when the opportunity, when you start to hit that roadblock and it starts to get difficult, you'll take it as a sign that it's not meant for you. If you hit that obstacle, blow a hole through it, man. Go around it. Go under it. Because you're painted into a corner psychologically.
And then you start solving those problems. You solve different problems when you think differently, right?
When you have to, right? For survival, there's an interesting thing that Sun Tzu said. He said, he would never back his enemy into a corner and not leave him a way out because he knew that they would fight like ferocious lions if there was no way out. So he always left his enemies a way out. And that's also why his generals and his men knew that he always backed them into corners. So you got to back yourself in that proverbial corner, man.
You do.
You don't leave yourself a way out because you will fight ferociously because when you don't have an option.
Right.
Sink or swim.
What do you see coming out, being back in the civilian world for the last couple of months? What do you see are some commonalities, especially coaching people and talking to people daily on a daily basis? Yep. What are some things that people are doing out there? Maybe complacencies, settling. What is some stuff you're seeing constantly?
That's a really good question.
You just want to crush.
Lack of decisiveness is the worst.
Yeah, 100%.
Lack of decisiveness.
Skate through life. No decision is a decision.
Lack of decisiveness is crippling men because when we had touched on it before, people will reach out asking for help. And then I need to change my life now. My life's in shambles. Okay, let's do it. Well, I got to think about it. think about what? Fixing your life? What's to think about?
Jesus, man.
I can't think
It's
of a
so
more
common.
important thing to think about to do right now.
Yeah, fix your life.
What? Fix your life, man. Also, people are, man, afraid to write a check.
Yeah.
Let's be straight up about it. Afraid to write a check for something that fixes their life, man.
Why is that?
You call somebody to fix your roof, you don't expect them to do it for free.
Yep.
Right? You want to fix your fucking life? Also, lack of understanding the big picture. Understanding what collapsing your time horizon does. Getting with, man, if I'm trying to learn real estate, guess what? I'm not going to try to read books by myself when I could go talk to my boy Austin about it. And be like, hey, man, what do I got to do? Where do I got to put money in so I can get this information streamlined fast as fuck?
Right.
I'm trying to do this fast, man. That's speed kills. You got to make decisions fast. Got to make quick decisions fast. What Patton said, man, an okay plan next week is better than a perfect plan
next week.
Yeah, or good plan right now is better than a perfect plan next week. Right?
Absolutely.
And then Hermosi said something good. He goes, man, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Yeah.
So well said, man.
Yeah.
So I would say lack of decisiveness, lack of making and that decisiveness bleeds into deciding who they are. Man, I'm a dude that gets shit done, right? I'm fixing this shit right now. That mental shift that happens, that you have to make a decision, takes a minute, takes a second, and then it takes a lifetime to prove it.
And let's be honest, if they were handed that same thing, free information, they pass free information daily. There's so much of an abundance of information out there on YouTube, on the internet, anywhere, honestly. You can get all sorts of information. The problem is lack of application. But they pass all this information. If they don't pay for that information, they don't take it serious.
Well, it's not respected.
I've taught friends over and over about real estate, and very, very, very few will follow through with any of it.
Yeah.
It's because, it's not like you said, it's not respected. It's like, if it was free, it can't be that easy. He's not giving me all of it. I'm like, no, it is. You just need to take the action that I've told you and line out A, B, C, D and follow the blueprint. But at the same time, they're just, it's free. I can't take it that serious.
Yeah. And it's not to say that there's not the men out there, because I'm crushing it, right? We're crushing it on sales. It's sad to me that so many people pass it up, because the people that do go, you know what, let's do this, and they make that decisive action, guess what? Their life gets better.
100%.
Because there's a psychological shift that happens. It happened to me, man. I've invested in people. Some guy hit me up, and he asked me about wanted to help. I said, okay, man, here's what I do. I coach people and stuff. We do one-on-ones and Zooms, and man, we reset this.
Exactly.
He goes, well, I don't know, man. You wouldn't do it, so I wouldn't. I'm not gonna hire another man. You wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I go, man. Michael Jordan had a coach. People have coaches, man. Tom Brady has a coach. You're an idiot if you don't get a coach.
I put out a reel that said it was talking about me and how we spend roughly around 6 figures a year in real estate coaching and being in masterminds, other investors that are doing massive numbers, being able to go to those meetups and things like that. And then another company comes in and helps us with our systems and processes. They actually fly out. Since we've even moved here, they've been here, and they go over everything. We have a one day with them, and then they're constantly on our meetings once a week. Mm-hmm. Literally, they're helping assist in those meetings and coordinate things and things like that. And so I got trolled by the social media about saying that I spend 6 figures in education and continually growing my company, and they're like, no way you do that, no way. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I'm constantly reinvesting. Do you think that do you think I'm that arrogant that I know all the answers about how to run a fucking company? I do fucking not.
Yeah.
I do not. I have never ran a 100-employee company, and so I'm looking at growing my company. I'm looking at giving my employees more options and structuring the pay scale differently, and wanting to really, and that's me as an owner investing back in my people. Yep. And when you do that, they see that, they get more, and guess what they want to do? They want to work with you. They want to be a part of an organization that's growing. And you have to think the same thing if you guys have a family, or if it's just you. If you're not investing in yourself, then how do you expect things to actually change? You need information from somebody else that's doing it or has done it.
Yeah. What got you here is not going to get you there.
Right. How are you supposed to get the information? You can't. This is just miracle. It's in your life.
Yeah.
It's not a book, and you're like, you know what? I'm a different person today.
Yeah.
No, it's somebody constantly showing you. Even if it's just little tweaks in a conversation. Sometimes it's that simple. A lot of times it's that simple.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man, I tried that. This is what I ran into. But this market's a little different than that market. For instance, in real estate. And you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you could have spent years on trying to have VRBOs and, Nantucket. And maybe it's not the place that works out. Ask somebody that's done it.
Yeah.
You're not the first. You're not the first to do this. So why do you feel like you need to run through life, all alone? And maybe it's the way we're programmed going through school. Don't look at that test. Don't work together. Don't coordinate. And maybe that's the difference in you and I's mindset, being unprogrammed a bit and reprogrammed being in the military. It's like, you can't get anything done. Take your battle buddy with you. Everybody here's a team. Oh, good. Austin fucked up. Taylor's getting punished too. Like, so it creates the opposite. Creates the opposite, right? It's
communal punishment.
And so I run my companies more like that, but that's just my thoughts on it, man. I don't know.
No, you're spot on. Man, the level of complexity, just as you're describing that, it's bottomless.
It is.
The level of depth and wisdom that you could get from. And that's what's beautiful about the civilian sector, which I like, is because it's all on you. It's all on you, and that's what was the scary part of the transition, was it was all on me, right? There's no safety check coming in every couple weeks.
Is that what the reluctancy to kind of jump back into the civilian world was?
Yeah, it was because, man, I grew up with not a lot of money, right? I grew up with scarcity mindset. I saw my parents go through a bankruptcy and then divorce, and then, growing up with like a single mother after that, it was I grew up with. And then having my own financial problems from my own choices, really, where I realized, man, okay, you got to do this. You got to be calculated about this stuff. But there was a fear in there, right? It was fear-driven, right? And so that's something I had to kind of get past. It was like, I do believe in myself. And I believe in myself because I do all these good daily habits. That self-worth was built. They link. People, when I start to kind of coach and we get into this, and I have CEOs to surgeons to guys who are just living out of their car, like the full spectrum. And what I find is people they'll want, I need to start kind of focusing on my business. I go, man, but your body's trash and your daily habits are trash. Let's not put the cart before the horse.
Oh, absolutely.
So start here and watch what happens. And guys won't even be focusing on their business. Just be doing what they're normally doing, and they'll focus on their daily habits, their deliberate mindset training, visualization, certain things to read, Stoic philosophy, right? Again, their training, nutrition. Then they start to get clear. Byproduct is their business starts crushing again, right? It starts, not only that, but who knows the universal principles involved with your energy being different. Deals come that you wouldn't, who knows what's really going on energetically in the world and in terms of universal law.
Right? Like, you attract those people like, oh man, I see him. He's pretty squared away.
Yeah.
He seems like a great guy. He's really energetic and he seems like he's on the right path. Let's talk to him about doing a deal. Let's talk about him about whatever it is, maybe if that's their business. You're exactly right, man.
And man, don't do weird shit. Right? There's another piece too here.
There'll be plenty in the comments.
That people just won't talk about. Don't do weird shit. It fucks your energy up. Right? There's a piece of, man, if you're in there looking at porn all day and then you come out and you wonder why you can't get any deals done, bro, your energy's off. Start saying no to yourself. Stop saying no to these immediate dopamine hits. People don't want to talk about this stuff directly, but it's so true. Man, there's all pluses and minuses here. There's no neutrals, right? Door closed, door open, man. Once you start really understanding this and applying it, we talk about information applied power. Man, when you start saying no, when you're not out there cheating on your wife, when you're actually being a good dude and actually, man, there's enough complexity in the world as it is and difficulty. Don't make it more difficult on yourself by stacking problems, by stacking complexity, by stacking bad karma that you're going to have to burn off, because make no mistake about it, you are going to have to burn it off. So, man, do the right stuff. Keep it simple. Keep focused on your business, on your family, on your body, and watch how things start to get better.
Yep. Oh, no, 100%. I've had people sign up for the real estate program specifically, and we'll get into it. We'll be on the Zoom call, and I'll realize that they have to get their life in order.
Yeah.
And I've had people move out of their parents' house, and I was like, and you thought you were ready to get into real estate investing. But we started there and really got to the bottom of where they're at. And then they'll progressively, move out of their parents' house. Their relationship with their girlfriend, which is soon to be their wife, changes. And then the progressive factor of like, well, now I have my own time and no one's bitching at me because I'm at home and my mom's not making me feel obligated to raise my little brother. And then it just starts stair-stepping. They can go out and create the person that can come home and actually help mom out, and not be the person that, is essentially just another child in the home of mom's house. And it happens all the time. And you nailed it a minute ago with CEOs. You have CEO clients. You have people doing well with financials. And I've seen it. I've been in entrepreneur groups. I've been at the table with people that have loads of money and big businesses, and you probably too prior to your French Foreign Legion time. And I would never trade any of my clarity now and who I am today in order to reach a certain level, because ultimately you're building your foundation on a house of cards. You're building it on a weak foundation. And all the money in the world, and then you see these guys do exactly like you just said, cheating on their wives, going out of town in Vegas and blowing money, lying, all these things, and then you expect the money may still be there, but what about the rest? And was it really worth the sacrifice that you're sacrificing? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I've seen plenty of guys with money who are not happy.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Very miserable, actually. And I don't want to live that way. I really like waking up feeling, man, I got enough going on in my head. Difficult that I gotta work through, man, daily, right? That I do not need more guilt and shame stacked on top of me. And that was just when I became more aware of it, because I was using it as escapism, as immediate, just distraction, right? Oh, I'll just do this now and then I'll deal with it later, right? And bro, I saw where it led me, right? It might be okay for a little while. You might be able to, as I say, bend reality for a little while. Hide and lie for a little while, or not get arrested for a little while. But man,
karma catches up.
You play with fire long enough, you're going to get burned. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah.
So there's good fear, there's healthy fear too, right? There's that just realistic acknowledgement that exists, and I also am fearful of losing the things that I've built.
Yeah.
Just in terms of my life and my respect and what building relationships back, and it's just. It takes one fuck to erase a million attaboys.
True. Just wreck it. I mean,
one fuck to a million attaboys. People only remember the fucking fuck up.
Yeah.
So I mean, it takes one time getting in the car. It takes one time doing anything, and it's always the thing you don't see coming. Yeah. Always the thing you didn't plan for. Always the thing you might have a million blocks and checks and balances in place, and it's the text message coming through that you didn't see, you forgot to turn your notifications off or some bullshit, right?
Man,
and that's just how it goes on people. How many great men have we watched get their lives destroyed off one stupid guilty pleasure? Really? Yeah. Simple as that. 100%. It's a guilty pleasure, and that's what that staying purpose-driven over pleasure-driven is. Man, if you make that choice, more often than not, or all the time, if you're totally tapped in, purpose-driven. Is it purpose or is it pleasure-driven? Really, things boil down to that.
Right.
Like, there's no pluses, and I always say there's no neutrals. Man, it's purpose-driven or it's pleasure-driven. Right?
Absolutely.
I'm not saying there's not time to unwind, and but it's deliberate, right? It's not wasting time. When you're with your family at night, Austin, you have that, I'm going to allocate this amount of time. Maybe not written down on a schedule, but there's like a time in the evening you put the phone down and and it's
bikes or something.
Done deliberately, and it's for a purpose.
Of course.
Right? It's still purpose driven, but you derive pleasure from it because it's for that solid good purpose.
Yeah. And as a father of, 2 daughters, and father of any kids, for anybody that's just a parent, but is there's a lot of times that your kids want to do something that you may not want to do. It's not fun. Jumping on the trampoline for me, I would rather sit on my phone and look at, potentially post an Instagram, DMing people back, talk to my wife about business, maybe look over deals. Like, there's many times. But the reality is, like, if you were to lock me in a cell and tell me I was going to die in the next 2 days, like, what would I think of? I wouldn't think of, man, I hope I DM'd that person back.
Man, that's a good point.
I would think, I wish I had more time with my children. If you held a gun to my head or I have a terminal illness, and that's hard. Sometimes I have to put myself in that perspective because I get so ingrained into my own system, which is, work, which is thinking about work, which is getting on social, pumping content out, connecting with other people, helping other people, working that. And my kids see that a lot now because with the lifestyle we live, and our work-life balance is all in one. And, There's times that you're just like, oh, in a minute. Oh, in a minute. Daddy, will you ride bikes with us? Dad, will you come skateboard? Will you take us to the pump track? Dad, will you, kick the ball with me? And I'll be out there in a second. And then I'll start talking to Alicia. Like, did they ever close? Did they ever say they're going to sign that contract? We're going to get this deal. Or, hey, look at this guy right here. He's already got his first deal with me, or whatever it is. Just so many things to talk about when it comes to business. And I constantly keep putting it off. And with the kids, and maybe it's just one time that evening. Maybe it's the next day. But for me, I mean, kids really put a mile marker in my life on time and how short time is, because time's abundant to them. They're very young, but for me, time, you look at them, one day you're having a baby and the next day they're 7 and 8 years old, and then what's there, after that. I mean, I'll be completely transparent right now. My daughter, she's young enough not to care about this. She's 8 years old, my oldest. And last night she was like, Daddy, I'm hairy. I got hairy arms, right? That doesn't make a big deal, but she's 8 years old. That puts it in perspective to me as a father. Like, she's worried about her hair on her arms. She's seeing women not have hair on their arms, or she sees me maybe shave my arms or something, or my wife shaves her legs, and she's thinking in her head, and to me, that's a mile marker. That hit me in the gut. Like,
interesting.
Oh, you're thinking about being a woman in my mind, right? I'm like, you're 8 years old. But how fast does that happen? How fast does 16
Blink
come
of an
along?
eye.
Blink of an eye, man. And so many things. Their life is compact and short. But anyways, I wanted to share that. But back to what we were saying a second ago. So you get back, French Foreign Legion, come back. Do you have a plan of where you're coming? You coming back to visit family? Like, let's go back to your story about that.
Man, dude, it was. I knew, man. I hadn't seen my mom in a long time, man. Right? I've been over there for years, man. People that don't know, when you go over there, you got to volunteer your passport.
Just give it up. Boom.
Yeah, so you don't see that thing for about 3 years minimum. You'll deploy on a fake French passport with a fake name on your first 1 or 2 deployments, and then you can route other paperwork and get your name back and your passport back. But it takes a process. And so I had one small little vacation where I could see my mom, but I saw her for like a week.
Wow.
In 4.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Really. So it had been a while, and I just wanted to come back and I knew there was no gap in time. I mean, I was making sales on the plane ride over, right? I mean, I was in it, and I had already started doing it from the French Foreign Legion barracks. I mean, from the barracks room, I was making $20,000 a month from my barracks room, dude.
Nice.
So I knew I was like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to focus on it, and grown it since then. But I wanted to get home, put my feet down, right? Get with my girl, right? And so everything just worked out, being in SoCal, and then once I had boots on the ground, assess what the next move was.
Yeah.
And that's really what I've done, right? And life develops and things develop, and that'll all come out. But it's been not getting off the tenants, not getting off the daily process, not letting other distraction, because there's a ton of them here that I hadn't had before, not letting anything deter me what I need to do, and making sure I align myself with good cats that are, on that same trajectory. Like, when we talk, what do we talk about? We talk about up and out.
Business, life.
We talk about up and out, man. We're not talking about whatever people, like normal
Other
shit.
people's
I'm not
problems.
talking about other people, man. We're talking about ideas.
I'm not talking about the game.
What game?
Yeah.
Man,
We
this
are
is the
playing
only game, man.
Yeah.
This is the only game.
100%.
Man, I just don't, that stuff is just uninteresting to me.
Same here.
So I want to be around people, and it's always pretty much been uninteresting to me. I just had never directed it correctly, right? I've never been the chill in the garage guy. It's never been my thing. And I'm trying to make moves and make a big life for myself.
What does a big life to you mean? That's a good.
That is a good question, man. A
A
big life to me is extreme financial security, right? For not only me, but my kids' kids.
Okay.
That's kind of where I want to be. But freedom of movement.
Okay.
Right? Freedom of movement. Content in my purpose. Content in my daily flow. I don't like to use the word balance, because there's always going to be some extreme. But I want my family. I want a wife, kids, right? I want the beautiful house, the pool, right?
Yeah.
And I want gray slick back hair, right? You know what I mean?
You're on your way to that,
I
brother.
see it, man. I see it. Ability to sit down and have dinner at night, right? On the regular. Have that type of balance, where my kids understand important things, right? They understand family. Everybody's grounded. I'm grounded. Never maintaining frame. That's the big life to me, right? So I want everybody else in my life, not stressed.
Right.
That's like a big piece for me because I grew up with a lot of stress, tumultuous, just tension. And so tension has always been a real contentious thing for me. I don't like tension. It makes me very uncomfortable, right? I don't like tension in the house. I don't like
What's your go-to? What do you do when that happens? What have you done in the past?
I try to communicate past it, but I'm learning sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's time.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's just time, and it's also not allowing emotions to take hold of what your mouth is,
For sure.
right? And so keeping perspective of really the big picture, what matters and what doesn't matter. And that's a constant process, I think, as men especially, because our protective instincts are what we resort to is anger. That's what we know. I need to show I care. This matters to me because to be mad, right? And so a lot of us grew up with mad dads, the mad dad thing.
Yep.
And I never want to be that, man, because a lot of that's stress driven.
It is.
Right? It's stress driven, and they're stressed out.
It's an emotional reaction.
Yeah, and it's mad, and I'm pissed, and this, and it's stress driven, and that's something I always wanted to be. Man, I want success, but not at the expense of adding crazy tension and me being pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So that's that responsibility. I think that's a big life to me. If I can accomplish those things,
You
I've
said
been
financial
successful.
success. What is? Do you have it defined to a certain point? Because I think financial success, where you're headed and on your trajectory, you could get that quickly, right?
Yeah.
Like you could get that quickly.
Yeah, I have a number in my head. I think probably
Good.
where a number in my head that would make sense, but. That's also that's that moving target, obviously, because you know how it is.
You reach
but
something.
and so I'm never gonna lax, and I'm always gonna look for that next level of growth. But there's a grind phase,
right?
Everybody I think understands. There's this grind phase, and then there's gonna be kind of an expansion phase and a management phase,
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm in that grind phase right now.
Got it.
And I'm happy with it. I'm grateful for it, man. So when
good.
I'm stacked with calls or whatever, man, I'm grateful for it. It's hard, and sometimes you gotta, put yourself back in and remember why you're doing it. And you're not always stoked to be on a call or perfect energy for it, but you got to bring it.
Yeah.
Right? You got to bring it, and I owe it to my clients. I owe it to my people. I owe it to myself to bring it. And so that's what I like about this process, and my purpose here is it keeps me accountable.
Yeah.
It keeps me accountable to my vibration. I know if I'm getting on a call, man, I'm just like, man, dude, I better crank some burpees out and get up, right, and take responsibility for it and not just wallow in it,
Right.
which I used to do when I was immature, is just kind of, and just kind of not even take that deliberate action to fix it when it's very fixable.
Right.
And so, yeah, going back to your exact question, though, of success, man, it's having my family, my people proud of me, very comfortable. Right, because it's a lot of it's other people. I could be good in a cot, but there's a level that I want people around me and proud of me and not stressed out, man.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that you said something about kind of growing up in your home life and it being stressful, especially like the mad dad thing? Are there things that you grew up with that you will implement and things you won't implement that you've learned from your parents?
Man, it's good. I say my parents did a great job. I always felt loved.
Yeah, same.
My mom and dad, whether they're going through whatever or what was going on, man, my dad coached my football teams, at times, like and my mom, I was always in sports year round. I was in competitive sports year round. It was like mandatory, but I didn't even be forced. She forced me to swim, right? Because I hated swimming. I put the little Speedo on, dude. My dad calls it, "Hey, guy, you're going to put your Doinka bathing suit on, dude." He's got a Boston accent. Doinka bathing suit. I hated it, man. I'd wear board shorts up to the thing and take it off and jump in.
It'd be awkward.
Yeah, but I hated it. But it helped me out being a Navy SEAL.
That's what I was going to say.
Right?
Good
So
thing
it
you
actually
started
paid off of like destiny, man.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely get boys and girls in sports year round. That is non-negotiable. That is a non-negotiable thing. Or you're playing an instrument or something, right?
Yeah.
If
Being active, doing something.
you're engaged, and that was huge. Also, playing outside, being outside more was a huge piece. I had an outdoor crib growing up in our trailer house in Camp Lejeune. I was on Camp Lejeune in a trailer. That was my first house at one.
That was a Marine. Yeah,
yeah,
people
bro.
don't know.
We were getting after it, and so that was a huge piece. And then things maybe I won't implement is I'll be very careful about arguments in front of kids.
Yeah.
That's a piece
You
that
feel it affected you?
Yeah, oh yeah. I would say just very cognizant of how my wife and me communicate, right, and keep things respectful.
Yeah.
That's the piece that I think I'll
Gotcha.
always just
Respect.
be.
It's okay to argue.
Yeah, yeah. You're
Show
gonna have
people are gonna disagree.
You're gonna have disagreements, but like keep them emotionally in relative control. It's not always perfect, right? It's life. Let's be quite honest, but maintaining the frame of respect, because that's the mother of your kids too. Rather, no matter what do you want to be, right, or you want to have peace, right? Do you want to be right or do you want to be in love? There's that. You might be right, man, but what does it solve?
What's it worth? Yeah,
what's it worth? Right? And what are you going to think about on your deathbed?
Exactly.
Right? That's like what I always got to remember, man, is what matters here. And a lot of times those decisive actions do matter, right? Like that's when I tried to be a SEAL or Legionnaire. Those were decisions where I went, I'm going to regret not doing this on my deathbed. And so I made those choices.
You just did
right?
it.
And then this piece is, man, if I don't achieve like massive financial success and what I view as a successful life, I'll regret it on my deathbed because I didn't give it everything.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't just give up and go, I'll just go do this job because it's safe. When there's nothing safe, man. People can pull it away from you. A company can go out of business, which people run into. There's nothing safe.
You nailed it. So many people struggle with what you just said, though. They struggle with that. I feel the same way, obviously. I mean, I would rather go and try and fail and go and have the opportunity to succeed than just have given up at a young age.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people are giving up on themselves. And that's what's sad, you know, that they'll reach out, Taylor, help me, you know, Austin, help me. But they won't make the commitment because they're giving up. In the back of their mind, they've already sold themselves that they can't do it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm just not that type of person.
Well,
you aren't either.
Well, the thing is it's okay to think you can't do it. But
You
still
just
do
do
it.
it.
That's the difference, right? When you've tried to go into real estate, or you didn't know you could do it, right?
No.
That's the thing is,
I didn't have this. Oh, this is going to work for me
yeah,
perfectly.
it's okay to not know, man. It's okay to not know if you're going to transition out of the military and make it. It's okay to not know. It's not okay to make that affect your decision, right? Make that fear redirect you, right? Oh, I don't know. What if I can't do it? What if you can?
Exactly.
That's what I always would resort to. What if I can? I would see guys coaching, right? When I was in the French Foreign Legion barracks, I didn't have social media, nothing, man. I was in a hospital actually, and looking at it like going, man, maybe I should post a picture, right? And like get this going, roll this out. Yeah. But I did it strategically, right? I'm like, oh, okay. When I made the decision, I was going to go all in on it. And so I was sitting there and I was seeing guys living this life and coaching. Man, I think I even ran across one of, it's kind of surreal because I saw some content you put out where you were like, had sold a car or something to get into a real estate coaching group.
Did.
And I remember seeing that because I remember seeing you tattoo. I'm like, man, that's interesting. And that's surreal, bro. It gave me the kind of chills sitting here thinking about that. Yeah, it's wild, dude. And so I seeing this life, and you said it before too. It's like, well, if they can do it, why not me?
That's all I thought.
Why not me? What? That means like some crazy level of intelligence. Sure, I had fear. Maybe I can't do it. What if I can, man?
Right.
What if I can do better than them?
Right.
Start, but you're never going to have the confidence to actually pull the trigger and do it if your habits aren't good. That's why I say it always resorts back to, man, don't be delusional either.
Yeah.
Right? Don't be that delusional motherfucker sitting there fat, eating potato chip. That's arrogance when you go, man, I could do that better. And then half-assed, bro, you better get right. There's dudes coming here and bringing it. Man, I'm on the phone 19, 20 hours a day, man. There's sparks flying off my cell phone. When I get up, I'm on that thing in the morning, like after I do my stuff, and I'm on that thing all the time, right? If I'm not on it, I'm thinking about it. I'm making content. I'm trying to think, how do I help people?
Right.
Right? What's a way to think about this? How does this thing I'm experiencing right now, how could somebody else use this information to help them, right? It's this, you're in that position. How does somebody take this? How do I package this information, this hurt that I'm dealing with today or this frustration, and package it and deliver it for people?
Yeah.
So it's this beautiful process. I love this whole process of what social media can do when you use it right. And it is so helpful in my process because it keeps me, because I know my daily processes are correct. That's why I can maintain that frame. It's because I'm confident about who I am, about what I've done. things. You got to have some social proof too. You got to do some shit,
Yes,
man.
yeah.
You got to have some social
Well,
proof.
immediately people do that, right? When you
Yeah.
see on my page, we didn't know each other. We're looking at Instagram. That's your resume, right? Like, so you're like, does this guy have fucking proof that he's doing actually what he's doing? Who is this guy? You know, is he just talking a bunch of shit? Is he
Yeah.
phony baloney? Is he have fake followers? Is he a, you know, what is this? You
Yeah.
know, and that's what's neat about social media is you can dive into that. And then like the same with the daily habits, you can see if somebody's really following through
Yeah.
with those things. So somebody that's committed to their family or to their business or to growing and becoming better. And then I immediately connect with those people and it's like, yeah, we of course we get along. We get along on the basis.
Yeah.
We get along on the foundation.
Yep.
So anything above that is like, dude, share your knowledge about stuff you're doing, and I'll share my knowledge, and we become friends, especially with like-minded people, you know. And that's the cool thing about social media and connecting, to be honest.
What a beautiful way to connect with people who are like me. Back in the day, we would have had to live near each other.
Exactly, dude. I made
Man,
a post the other day.
we would've
I
had to
said,
live
we
near
would've
each
had to
other.
Be neighbors. Do you think the people that you're supposed to be around are in your local bar? Are they graduated with you in high school? No, go out and look and find more. You know, that's what originally. I mean, I only graduated with college with an associate's degree in municipal fire safety, but originally college was that place where it's like, son, go out and meet the people, and those connections will help you in life. You know,
And that's small mind.
That's small. That's now it is small-minded, right? It used to be massive, but times have changed so well. Like we can reach out to people that are doing cool things, massive things, and if you're somebody that's credible, that's respectable, that's built something real, then it's a pretty easy resume to start connecting with somebody.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna. We wouldn't have wanted to hang out with each other if either one of us was like, oh yeah, all you got is pictures of fucking pizzas and booze, and after you get back, fucking raving out. I mean, it's just not what it is.
No,
I'd
dude.
be like, I don't really want my family around that shit. That's
No,
not really my
no,
thing.
dude, it's
Vice
like-
versa.
Yeah, we go, yep, sync up. And there's people putting the cart before the horse. People are trying to be known without being worth knowing.
That's it. That's gonna be the fucking clip
Right.
right there.
You're trying to be known without being worth knowing.
You're not worth knowing.
Man.
all the time, yeah.
If you're not worth knowing, guess what? Start working.
Yep.
Hey man, how do I provide value for people?
Right.
That's what I always try to mean. How do I provide value for people? How can I be a beneficial piece of this network? You don't want to be the weak link in the chain. So man, when I come to you, I'm like, man, I got to start upping my game. I got to start thinking, hey man, I met this guy. I met a guy that he might be able to be, beneficial in your capacity. Or I got guys
Right. That's how
that
we
want to
work.
learn real estate. Like bring value to people. And guess what? Do it for free, right? Bring value for people for free to start. That's how you start working. Or go off and do something. I say, man, if you don't have a life story, man, go take the Siberian train, dude.
True.
All right? Go
do
do something and write a book, right?
Yeah.
Go walk to the South Pole and tell me about it, right? There's
Yeah.
so many things but it all takes
For sure.
deliberate, decisive, massive, drastic action.
Right.
That's what you have to do.
It does. And there's nothing wrong with some of the people that may be watching this that have a pretty mediocre life. And if that's what they want, good on them if that's what they want and that's where they're at, but it still doesn't take away the fact that you need to still be better for your people, whatever those people are. If you have a family or if you intend on having a family, a lot of people talk about like, I do this for my family. I'm going to do this for my kids, or I do generational wealth. Well, it's like the airplane scenario. When you get on an airplane and the mask drops down for the oxygen, they don't tell you, hey, put your whole family in oxygen masks and then help yourself. No, you know why? Because you're going to pass the fuck out. You're not going to be able to put oxygen masks on them. So you put an oxygen mask on yourself, you fix yourself first, and then you could start helping other people. It's the same way in a combat zone. It's an IFAC for a reason, an individual first aid kit, right?
Yeah.
It's individual. You don't go whipping out your individual first aid kit when then I'm fucking helping you out and I get blasted. Now I got no goddamn tourniquet to help myself.
Yep.
You have to help yourself first, and I'm going to use your IFAC for you. And so it's really important to, no matter where you're at, even if you do just live a life of being a good father, well, you can be a better one.
Yeah.
By doing the things
Yeah.
you need to do. Maybe you're just doing something average. You don't care about the money. That's fine. You don't care about other things, maybe the big vacations or the Lambos or anything like that. That's fine. I don't ever hate on anybody that does that. Most of you motherfuckers are the ones that hate on us that want to live our lives that way. But still, being the best version of yourself requires you to reflect upon yourself, and that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
no matter where you're at.
I don't care what you do, man. I knew a guy opened a hot dog stand. Decided he wanted to make the most gangster hot dogs. Turned it into some crazy gourmet hot dog stand. Dude
Sick.
makes $250,000 a year. Right?
Yeah.
I don't care what you're doing. Be crazy good at it. If you're just a dude that wants to live a normal life, man, have remarkable habits.
Absolutely.
Right? Have incredible self-discipline. and write a book on it, right?
For sure.
Man, lock on your day so you have the most structured day, the best mindset. You can have absolutely astronomical habits, mindset, and teach people how to do it, right?
For
You
sure.
don't need to be running off. I was kind of being half joking about riding around.
Yeah, but that's kind of stuff like I would do and you would do.
Yeah,
we
well,
enjoy that. I
you
enjoy
got to
the
have
extremes.
something to share, right?
Yeah.
You got to have something, some value to give. And if you don't, well, guess what? I guess you don't. But don't complain about the life you're in. That's the thing. If you are crushing it, you love your life, and you're doing fucking amazing, bro. You won, right? That's what I say. You won. If you're perfectly have all inner peace and mental clarity, and you love life, and your family's happy, and everybody around you good, man, you won. Good on you. There's nothing more to do, but you can always improve, right? Because the minute you think that you arrived, you're going to start backsliding. So that's why I say it's a constant progress. It's a constant forward movement, or you're moving backwards. You're progressing or you're regressing. Yeah. And that always goes back to those daily habits, man.
For sure. And so now, how long ago did you move to the States?
December 17th, I got here, man.
Nice. You went and visited. You went and saw mom.
Hell
saw
yeah.
Family.
Dude, I went right to the house, man. That was so cool, man, seeing her. And then seeing her here, happy. And that's another indication, man.
I saw you going to dinner with her. And
Just being able to see my family proud of me and not stressed. My mom's retired now. She did very well for herself and was very successful. And she's my mother. Love her to death. She was an example of what hard work does. I remember my mom waiting tables at Denny's, and I was at Denny's during graveyard shift, bro.
Wow.
All the way now to $1 million house, cash stacked in the bank, unbelievable retirement, chilling by the beach, doing whatever she wants, doing Tai Chi, going to, wine tastings, and
good for her, man.
She's crushed it, right? Diligence, man, never breaking, doing it, and also constantly bettering, always in the gym, always.
Your mom's in the gym.
My mom started Semper Fitness, man.
No joke.
Yeah, she was doing aerobics instructors for the
Marine Corps base?
Yeah, she
That's
was
cool, man.
My mom was an aerobics instructor, professional dancer, right?
Yeah.
She came from a fitness world. My parents met at a gym.
Right.
Right? And so I come from that fitness world. And so my mom also, going back to the fitness piece, man, a huge part of her mental clarity. And we go to the gym as a family.
That's awesome.
We go to the gym. My mom's 75, yo.
That's
75, crushing it, man. So don't let it
Your
get
mom
twisted.
does not look 75.
No, because, man, those weights, man, they keep you young.
That's right.
It's that stress on the central nervous system, man. It helps. Man, there's no excuses out here, right? Your life's going to be better when you start living it. When you start living it, man. When you stop being scared. When you start going to work out. When you start talking to people. When you start branching out. When you start, okay, I'm going to start. You're living, man. Walk into that fear, dude. That's living.
Hell yeah. So you're with the girl now.
Yeah.
You're hanging out here, coaching people.
Yep.
Awesome. Big plays coming up, too, sounds like.
Yeah, big plays, man.
Awesome,
We
man.
got
I'm
big
super
things in the
excited for you,
works.
Excited for you. Anything else that, since we left, because we went all the way back kind of where you and I met last time, you've changed it a lot. I've moved here, connected with great people, man, really growing, doing a lot of stuff out here. There's a lot of connections out here.
There is.
What do you see in the next couple of years for yourself?
Man, I want to, there's a lot of.
asked about success.
Yeah, I want to get so I got the book out. So I got an agency kind of looking at the book,
Hell
try
yeah.
to get the series, the movie, connecting with that. That'll take a little time. It's got to get approved through the Pentagon and stuff. But we got that on deck. But my whole focus is the coaching.
Gotcha.
I want to streamline the process, improve the product, improve my delivery, improve my understanding of myself, so I can actually articulate the message better, get my life set, right? So I can actually prove the concept, prove the blueprint. Yeah. Man, you can't preach shit, man, if your life's in shambles, if your relationship's in shambles, and your finances are, man. So I got to prove it, right? So I got to live it to show people that it's, man, you could walk out of a barracks room or be suicidal and then walk into a beautiful life if you're committed to taking decisive action, to investing in yourself, to really committing to the daily things you have to do, whether you feel good or not, right? People will say, I go to work. Yeah, but dude, going to work, man, is not enough, right? You have got to be the elevated man.
Be the best version of
yourself. Be the best. You got to be the best. Being fat, going to work, and just coming home and being pissed off, dude, that's not enough.
No.
Right? Your family deserves more. You deserve more.
Yeah.
That's the
many
piece.
times when you're on a caloric deficit and you're doing all the stuff, you're making all the calls, you're doing everything you can, and then something happens and you're just about to break but you go back to that mental clarity and you try to calm yourself down. I think that's real strength, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like going back to something you said a minute ago, mad dad. I grew up in a house where it was almost like they'd get mad, but in like my generations behind, it was like they're proud of like how, oh yeah, that's funny when Grandpa kicked the Easter basket across the living room during Easter. Like they're like proud, like joke about it later, but it was like a token chip instead of a, man, how embarrassing that you lost your emotions, that you're a grown fucking man, but you can't, emotionally hold yourself. So fighting, job site fights. I've seen my own father, like when I worked for him, throw his computer across the office. Like, there's a lot of like mad dad, and then like kind of like, chuckle about it later. Like, well, yeah, I can't believe they fucked that up. So he deserved to see me throw that across there, And I just, as a young man, I thought that was cool. That was what we needed to be. So I started down that route, and that route led me nowhere good. And then I realized I met people on this path that you're talking about, that we're talking about. I'm like, that's a lot harder than just fucking getting mad and throwing shit. That's the easy way out. I mean, it's real easy to get pissed off and just act all flamboyant and fucking crazy, fucking nuts,
it is.
And so the hard path is choosing the discipline in the moment to be the straight and narrow, and it's something that you constantly work on, and that you and I both probably are going to constantly work on our entire lives.
Yeah, and the obstacle's the way. For me, and you don't gain strength from things that are easy.
Right.
So it's like, I would say there's people that say, hey, man, I don't drink. And I go, well, do you want to drink? They go, no, not really. I never had a problem. Well, you're not gaining strength from that, right?
Right.
Somebody who needs and wants to drink every day but doesn't is gaining strength from that. But that other person might have a different vice, right?
Like
so you only gain strength. It's my anger, right? It's gotten a lot better, but it's always something that I got to be very careful of my mindset because I know I'm hardcore. And so I think things in terms of if I'm disrespected, I think, so
100%.
And so I want to lash out. And also that's what I grew up with, right? It's immediate show of emotion to set the tone back. It's like a control thing. So I have to remember consciously, I gain strength from not doing that, right? I'm proud of myself when I don't, right? And some people you're not virtuous if you're weak.
I used to struggle with it though. You ever struggled with it, feeling like you're weak?
Yeah.
Like when you're not doing it, like when I'm like, I should have fucking knocked that guy out. Like, I feel like I should have said something really aggressive. Yeah. And then, but the, your first scenario when you were on the team, as you talked about it last interview, you could be one slip away from smoking somebody at the bar that pissed you off or touched your wife or did something, and you could have been in prison. I mean, you could have killed the guy.
Dude, one guy falls and hits his head and he's dead.
You're done.
And what?
And for what? Like how? Like you don't get to see your future kids. You don't get to see your freaking wife. I mean, I can see.
There's
my
tons
kids,
of guys in prison now like that.
Yeah. You don't get to see, there's no life like anymore. The tape ends. Boom. Like what is it for?
And so.
Are you that proud of it?
Yeah. You're like, well, why are you in prison? Well, I stabbed a guy. Why? Well, he thought he was tougher than me. Like, cool, man.
Yeah.
You win.
It is. There it is.
Yeah, you win. Right. And so there's some emotional maturity that has to happen there. And it's also a lot easier to talk about than actually do in the moment. Right. So it's always something when I got to remember and how do I, so when that comes to that peak, when that comes to that head, the only thing I know that's going to help that is if I built myself up correctly that whole day. Because if I'm not happy with my wake up, if I'm not happy with how I've been eating that day, whatever, right, that emotional discipline is going to be a lot harder to hold if I've just been slacking off all day. My energy's off.
Yeah. Shit. Well, let's finish with some kind of comparisons. Like, let's go finish. I've always been intrigued with the French Foreign Legion. I think a lot of people are. It's what attracts a lot of people to you. It's like, wow, that's super unique. You were a SEAL. You were a French Foreign Legionnaire. And you probably get tired of talking about it like we've said.
No,
Let's do some comparisons on, what was life like less than a year ago out in the French Foreign Legion versus your beautiful life now? Like, what was it look like? What's the daily life?
So a year ago, literally to the day, like a year ago, I was just getting out of the hospital. I'd been in there 6 weeks with a torn medial calf. So that's when I had started this whole process of like, maybe I'm going to start practicing in front of the camera. I was in the hospital. I got some time. And so I was training. I was working. I was training. And I was really... But even like 2 years ago, we'll take it back 2 years, I was in a corporal promotional course, getting hazed for 2 months in the mountains, the French Pyrenees, some of the coldest I've ever been. It's cold up there, people don't know, but doing marches, just getting disrespected, man, having to swallow my pride, and I was beat up, man, just being 37.
Yeah.
Going through boot camp pretty much, like a corporal promotional course, carrying ammo cans and 50 cals for 20 clicks, bro. Yeah, 20 clicks, bro, carrying 50. Of course, I got all the big dog stuff. I'm carrying the frame, of course, dude, and I'm like,
because you're a bigger guy.
Yeah, dude, I'm paying the man, bro. You know, and so it was moments like that I look back on where I was like, man, I'm gonna make this a sick story. Like, it was just snowing and raining, and there's just funny moments when I look back, dude, like where it was freezing, dude. Freezing, and there was this dude from Moldova.
Where the fuck is Moldova?
Moldova, it's right next to Ukraine.
Okay.
It's right next to Ukraine and Russia.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting spot, but some of the most beautiful women in the world are from there. And it's also one of the most aggressive, it's the most dangerous country in Europe.
Wow.
So, but tough dudes, man, come from there. And he said, and this one dude, we're pissing in the woods and we're freezing, dude. And he goes, hey, Cavanaugh. I'm like, he goes, man, my so cold, my dick's like a baby carrot. And I just remember a moment like that going, fuck, man, how am I out here, bro? Like, what am I doing?
Where am I?
Yeah, where am I? But also, the French Foreign Legion was an interesting place because it gave me a lot of perspective on people who grew up real poor.
Yeah, worldly poor.
Not American poor. Not like you didn't have the nice iPhone, bro.
Yeah,
like dudes that ate mice for 3 months. Like,
No shit.
hardcore dudes, really tough environments, and just grateful to be working, grateful to be out there, grateful to have a good salary. And some of these military countries, bro, their salaries like $200-300 a month.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's that perspective. So it was also just opened my worldview, and then being back there and having my life stripped down to very simple things, which was I needed. I have a barracks room and it's very tidy, and you're up at 5 and running and really kind of shutting the fuck up and listening, and it's they don't want thinking shooters there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a very
completely different than the teams.
Oh, dude, it was that absolute juxtaposition.
Wow.
But I needed it, and I'm glad I had that both. It was weird because most people will go hardcore, regimental unit, infantry to special force. I went the other way, so I had like this rough. But it was what I needed exactly.
It's got to be harder that way.
It was what I needed because it brought me back into myself. It humbled me. It reset learning how to build my self-worth off of just my daily habits. That's where all of this stemmed, was when I had to start looking internal to actually make myself feel better. There was nothing external to grab.
Things.
There was no distraction. There was no phone. There was time, dude, no self-service, no phones, no TV, no fucking books, nothing. Just the fucking silence in the walls, bro, in the barracks room, dude. Wow. So it was a lot of that, man, when you have to, you find a way, right? And so that was that process where I go, well, you know what? I can do a ton of push-ups and start thinking philosophically and seeing, why my way of thinking wasn't working before, and it just allowed me the time and the quiet. And the problem with out here is there's so much distraction.
Oh, yeah.
People aren't forced to think.
Is that what you're having to deal with a little bit more now?
Yeah, and so I have to allocate my time for that, for deliberate thought. Right, man.
Creating a schedule.
A schedule to think.
That, but so many people have a struggle creating their own schedule. I remember just being an entrepreneur, being like, oh, I'm in control of my own time. They think that you get to gaff all that off. You get to fuck that off. The reality is, if you don't make time to do the things that make you money or to do the things that are important, then nobody else is going to tell you to do so.
Nobody's coming to save you.
Nobody's coming to save you.
Right? And part of my job is, man, being able to think and articulate stuff. And so if I don't allocate time to actually be able to think through some of the things that I'm dealing with in a quiet environment, man, I'm distracted, man. I'm not thinking about that when I'm trying to make a sale, when I'm talking to a client, or when I'm on, I just can't.
For sure.
So it's allocating my time appropriately has been a huge piece. And the juxtaposition of where I was in the Foreign Legion to here is the autonomy, which I love, which I was craving for. I really knew I was ready for, and I'm so happy to have, by the way, because, I mean, you have your freedom taken away, really, your freedom of movement for a long time, where you're on the hook, man. And I was ready to be done with that.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to be 40 marching to Chow in a line singing.
And there's people like that still to this day.
Still to this
right?
day, and man, they're just. And the thing is a lot of those guys aren't happy, right?
Really?
The truth is
They
a
feel
lot
stuck.
They're stuck. They have opportunities. There always is opportunities, but afraid to make that jump. That's that fear. So it keeps them there, man. And I didn't want to be that guy, 40, mid-40s, no kids, living on a barracks, bro.
Let me ask you a question. This is going to hurt some people, but let me ask the question. What's the difference in those people and the people that are stuck and hate their life now and their jobs and they live in the most beautiful country in the world?
It's worse.
What's the difference? Yeah.
It's worse but at least some of those people have less options, right?
Because they live from the Congo or something.
So, man, if you're out here and you're not seeing the opportunity, bro, and you need to increase your optimistic lens, and that comes through raising your vibration, right? That comes through good daily habits, building self-worth. You build your optimistic lens, and that optimistic lens sees opportunity. If you're seeing like this through a toilet paper roll and you don't see any opportunities, it's you. It's not that there are opportunities. There's unlimited opportunities.
Yep.
Literally unlimited.
They can't see the opportunities, though. They see the fear. They live with the fear
Yeah.
all the time, daily.
And that's what we try to show people how to do, man, is I tell people, don't worry about where you're trying to go yet. Fix right here. People are trying to look up and out at the horizon over the mountains, and I go, the answer's right at your feet. Get on the floor and start doing some fucking push-ups. Just start working right here.
Yep.
Right? Stop worrying about what's way beyond there.
Rejecting so many things that could go wrong.
Yeah,
so many things
I go,
that
dude,
happen.
you don't have your shoes on. You know what I mean?
I remember we got hit on the last episode when your dad gave you that perspective.
You know what I mean?
It's you didn't have any fucking
look down at your
shoelaces.
feet. Right? You're worried about the journey of 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
You don't have your fucking shoes on yet.
Yeah.
Straight type thing.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Man, start dealing with the shit you can have control over now.
Yep. Control what you can control right now and make those changes.
Yeah.
Well, let's leave him with something, Taylor. What are you going to leave him with?
Look, if you're watching this video, right, we're sitting here having a conversation, really living it, man, living our life happy, man. There's always still fear between him and I. Him and I talk about fear a lot. So that's never going to go away. Never going to go away. The fears just change. Also, your approach to fear just changes. Successful people, they just don't let the fear deter them. They use it to propel them. That's the difference. Use that fear as a driving force. You know what I'm terrified of? Being average. I'm fucking terrified of being average.
Way more than failing.
Way more than failing. That's a mindset. That's an approach. So once you start framing it that way, when you go, man, what's behind me is more terrifying than what's in front of me. Your whole life will change. And then guess what? Take that step, reach out, make that call, put your hand out, get some help if you need to, and start moving, right? Because it's not going to happen not moving. To change, you got to change.
Love it, brother. Great connecting with you. Good to see you again. We're going to be doing a lot more things together now that we're both here in SoCal. If you guys like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more.
Love it, bro. Got it.
If you had the world's attention for 1 minute, what would you say?
Delta Bravo Alpha Papa, don't be a pussy.
I love it.